Hello, everyone. I am just going to wait a few minutes to see if anybody gets the notification before I get started. Um, I don't mind sitting here talking to myself. For the most part, most days I'm fun. Some days not so much, but I don't come out here on those days. This was like a spur of the moment decision to go live. So, usually I talk to a couple people, see if they're around, or sometimes I send the link to people. Um, and let them know that I'm going live. But tonight was just like, meh, you know what? I ended things, or let's say I dropped off suddenly last night and I kind of wanted to explain what was going on. So, because that's not something I would normally do, but something obviously happened. And I just want to kind of explain to everybody what happened. So I'm just gonna, like I said, I'm gonna wait a minute. I didn't send out the notifications, so hopefully you guys are getting them. There's a few people. I know Carmel is one of them. He tells me that he has, unsubscribed and resubscribed to my channel, has reset the notifications, and he's still not getting them. Um, I don't know. YouTube likes to go, around and play games sometimes. So I just encourage everybody every now and then to check the notification for my channel. Um, hey David, how's it going? They like to play games. So again, I'm just gonna wait a second before I go into explain what happened, but there's a little bit of a backstory to it. So, before I explain what happened, I need to kind of give you some context. So you guys, most of you will probably remember this story because it's kind of hard to forget. um, so before I get started, I'm just gonna wait a second. How's it going, David? How was your day today? Um, all right, so I don't know. People can always check it back on the replay. That's why I'm never concerned about numbers. And sometimes, like I said before, other people are live during my lives or different time zones, especially for my crowd. Like, we've got people across the pond and stuff. There's some people that are, I like to say they're in the future or back to the future, but Australia, they're like 16 hours ahead. So, and some of my like really good subs are from those areas. So I'm just going to get started, and whoever comes in late can go back to the start or just catch it tomorrow or whatever, because I'm not going to take it down. So, okay, last night I was live. I did an open panel and I apologize for dropping off quickly. Obviously, there was a situation that happened and it threw me for a loop. So I didn't come back on. So I wanted to explain what happened to everybody because that is not me. You know that. So to first, instead of just starting off with, what happened last night, I'm going to give you the context, the background behind it. Now, sorry, I'm just trying to beat this friggin' cold. Like it's kicking my ass. I feel better some days, and then all of a sudden it's kicking me in the ass again. So, if you're just joining, I'm going to explain what happened last night. But in order to do that, and for you to fully comprehend, what last night was, you need a little bit of a backstory. So, for those of you who have been with me for a while, I don't know if you remember back in the summer. Well, actually, this started last spring when I moved in, but things really escalated last summer. So when I moved in to where I'm currently living, literally the first day I moved in April 1st. So I kind of thought it was an April Fool's joke. Turns out it wasn't. Um, I had problems with the neighbor. So I literally did not even get my car unloaded. And he's already screaming at me and I'm already in his face, like, rah, So I was like, okay, I see where this is going. Hey, Bella, how are you? So, um, So, like I said, this situation started from the time that I moved in. So this guy was going to be my neighbor. His name was Ivan, and I don't know if you guys remember me making videos about this. Earlier last, I guess I would have started probably around. Well, maybe I'm going to start to say something in April, May. Definitely by the summer because it took about 6 weeks to get him out. So it would have been about halfway through May. Um, so anyways, this situation, it did not start off well, and it didn't end well either. In fact, it ended very badly, and you're going to find out how bad very soon. So bear with me. So things escalated. Like his behavior escalated. I don't know what drugs he was on, but he was insane. Like he was not. If you're asking me, in my opinion, at first I thought it was like fentanyl because that seems to be, the drug of choice for everybody these days. But then I was like, no, his behavior, the way he acts when he's under the influence of whatever it was, it escalated his insanity. So I'm like, I ruled that out because I see those guys downtown, like they're all like basically, those like puppets you see at like some gas stations or like oil change places where like they have the air blowing and they're flapping in the wind. Like that's what I envision. So, anyways, to make a long story short, things escalated really bad. There was a lot of police involvement. The police were reluctant to get involved. And then when I finally felt like I had no other options and that my life was in danger, I started telling people about it because, like you guys know, I really don't have a lot of time for cops. I don't involve them in anything. In fact, if I had to guess, I would say that that's probably the first time I've ever called them for a help for myself other than like reporting an accident or somebody's injured or something like, 911 for an ambulance. So, and then when they started to get involved, things started to get worse because they would come here and literally make things worse for me, kind of like stir the pot and then leave me to deal with the shit. And it kept getting worse and worse. And he was threatening my life and he was on drugs and he was insane. And there was a lot going on. And like I had just moved in here. So like I said, it started right off the bat. So like I felt uncomfortable because it's like, okay, I'm new to this place. I didn't know how long he had been here. I felt bad, like I don't want to be that woman that causes shit. And this is the problem with a lot of people who end up, and I don't want to call it domestic violence because we were not partners. I want to make that very clear. I would never date somebody who's fucking insane and needs a white jacket. But this is the problem, and everybody's like, well, why don't women come forward? This story right here is the reason why women don't come forward because there's like you have to scream from the rooftops. And like, I'll be honest with you, the only reason why they started listening to me is because I made a video, which I still have. I just put it on private. And I'll tell you why, but it doesn't matter. I just didn't want someone, my landlord, but he's my buddy. I didn't want him to see it and feel bad. Because I was kind of like slamming these guys too. Like, what the fuck is it going to take, like me to die before anybody gets involved? So, this is the reason why women do not come forward is because the cops come, they make it worse, and then they leave you in a situation that was more unsafe than it was to begin with. So to make a long story short, I finally made a video and said, this is the situation. This is the person. I showed his picture. I named his name. People were looking him up and confirmed that he was in fact batshit crazy. Even the cops would come here and tell me that I'm more in danger. And it's like, I didn't sleep for a long time because it's like, how do you sleep? Because with his behavior, and he was a drug addict, obviously it didn't work. So, he'd be quiet all day. And then at night is when the craziness would start. And like, this house is technically split into two parts. So the part I live in now is on the other side. You can't hear what's going on. So I understand now, like, I guess the bigger picture of why they really didn't know what was happening other than through my reports. So, I went online, I made a video, I posted his name, his picture, and I let everybody know that if something happens, this is the reason why. And the police have been involved. This is the reason why I hate police. They're fucking useless. They didn't want to get involved. They came and made things worse and left me in a dangerous situation. So finally, after 6 weeks of that bullshit, he finally got kicked out. But it took me going on there saying, if something happens to me, it's because of him, and make sure that you sue them right into the fucking Stone Ages because I want this story to be known that this is the reason why women do not come forward. There's no help for them. There's no support for them, and they literally wait. Like I had the cops come here and say, like, we cannot do anything because it's your word against his. First of all, because he was threatening to kill me. Like, okay, so I'm not crazy. I'm not the type to call you even on a good day. I'm certainly not going to make up stories about somebody, especially a fucking drug addict lunatic. And I'm not going to put myself in the line of fire to make up a story about somebody that I didn't even know. Like, I mean, so he got arrested, and you guys remember the story. They picked him up, they drove him to the police station, they fingerprinted him, they charged him, and they literally dropped him back off at the house. It was like a concierge service, all within 20 minutes. So, when I make statements like the police are stupid and I have no use for them, there's reasons why I say the things I do. Like I don't just randomly pick people and be like, oh, I'm not going to like you today. So, anyways, to make a long story short, I haven't seen that guy since I'm going to say about June of, I guess, now last year. And I never ended up knowing what happened through the court system because, like I said, the cops would come here and they would tell me like he has a long history. He was very violent. He's a drug addict. He's got violent crimes on his history. And like if you look up my criminal history, there is none. So like I just don't understand why. But they would come here and say like we can't do anything until it happens. And I'm like, you realize what you're saying to me, right? You're telling me that you will not charge him until he actually kills me. Like how can I make a report against someone if I'm dead? You fucking retarded loser. Well, last night I'm sitting here on the live with my guys, right? We're shooting the shit, and obviously I dropped off suddenly. Well, this is what happened, and I wanted to explain because like it's not like me to do that. So I'm sitting here last night, and there was a knock on my door, and it was a police officer because they were here for a different reason for somebody else, and it was the landlord too. And I'm like, what's going on? And so they were here for somebody else doing a wellness check on some guy that's here and he's sick and he's got I don't really know his health details nor do I care. It's irrelevant to the story anyways. Um but they wanted to come by and let me know this news because like I said, I didn't have an update. Now this is a long time ago. Now I know I'm safe. I really didn't care. I'd run into him the odd place, but it really didn't have an effect on my life once he was gone. But Ryan knew that I would want to hear this news. So the cops had left and then Ryan came in and he's like, what would be the best thing that I could tell you? I knew instantly what he was talking about. That I could tell you that would make you feel better about Ivan. And I was like, that he's dead. He's like, yeah, he is. And I'm like, what? And so um they found him, I guess, some in November. I want to say November 24th. I don't know where. But when you overdose, I guess they call that killing yourself, which in my definition of it, it doesn't. I don't look at it that way. I look at it as an OD. But who am I, right? Like that's just my opinion. But I guess what happened is he did overdose and he's dead. And Ryan knew. Like I was always kind of looking over my shoulder, um, because you just never know with people like that with such erratic behavior, like when they're gonna pop back up. And so, he came in and he sat down, and I'm like, is it weird that I almost feel like crying? Like, not because I was sad that he was gone, but obviously because it brought back all those memories and all those nights that I couldn't sleep, and the times that I would call 911 and be sitting in my room paralyzed in fear, them telling me to lock myself in my room, sitting there holding a bat because like this guy could break into anything, and he had a history of home invasions. Like, I mean, that's not a good person. It takes a lot of balls, and it tells me that you don't fear dying. If you're gonna break into someone's home, whether they're home or not, you don't know what's on the other side of that door. So I was like, it just now I can release everything from the last year, and so I mean, you never like I was surprised at that reaction too because like I thought I would have been happy, but like I mean, I do have a heart after all, and it is a person, and he might have been fucked up, and he might have made me fear for my life. But I mean, I'm still the type of person who wouldn't wish death upon anybody, you know. So yeah, like I mean, that's what happened. So, um, I was obviously shocked to hear that news. Ryan knew that I would want to hear it, because now, like I said, I can let everything go. Um, and I hate to say that, like, I don't even want to say it brings me peace, but at least no other woman has to worry about, you know, being a victim to, and I don't even like the word victim. I think it should be removed from vocabulary, the dictionary, everything. But when you're in a situation that you have no control over, I would call that a victim, but I am not a victim. If that makes sense. I'm really big on that. I don't like that word. I don't like, you know, it's not about anybody feeling sorry for anybody. It's about just the lack of people listening to you, the lack of resources that are available to you, the lack of support that is available to you, the lack of shits that the cops give. Like, and it's just it was shocking to me to learn firsthand how I don't want to I don't know what the right word is, like how many lack of fucks people give, including the cops. So, I've like I mean I've been when you hear news like that, like I mean I have PTSD anyway, so it kind of triggered everything back and reminded me of all those nights. So but at least he's off this planet now. Nobody has to worry. The sad thing is he did have a kid that he never did see before, anyways. But the sad thing is now the kid doesn't have a dad. Not that he was much of a dad, anyways. I don't think he had seen the kid in years, so he's probably better off in that regard. But it's hard to see these things. You know what I mean? Like I said, I don't ever want to wish anybody dead or harm or anything like that. But you also shouldn't run around being a menace to fucking society. being a leech to society, terrorizing innocent people that are not like you, that have not. I didn't even know the guy. Like, I mean, and I don't know. I mean, it's not until you're in the situation yourself and you see how like the actual inner workings of things go, when you realize that there's so many gaps there, and when you're trying to navigate that and you've never been through something like that before, and your safety is in jeopardy, like for somebody with PTSD, it's all about safety. It's always about knowing where the exits are and being able to get out, looking at, can this guy take me if things were to roll, or like, can I rely on my fight or flight mode to kick in, and can I beat his ass? And like, these are all things that you're weighing in your mind all the time. Like, it's always about calculating threats and what are you going to do if this happens, and having a contingency plan. And when you're going through a situation like that, which you think would be like a slam dunk thing, because to me it was black and white, um, and just seeing how things go, it made me have a new understanding for women who are in situations that they can't leave from. Like, and I mean, I wasn't even in a relationship with the guy, right? So, like, if you're in a relationship, that makes it even 10 times worse, because a lot of times what the women make the mistake of letting the man support them financially. Don't ever fucking do that, ever, because you're putting yourself in a very bad situation, not just like in terms of, an abusive relationship way, but what if that person gets sick? What if he dies? Like, I mean, you have to be able to stand on your own 2 feet in this world in any given time, in any given situation. And I personally never have put myself in that position before, because it could be terrifying. And when you're trying to, do things for the first time and figure it out on the fly when you're in fight or flight mode, it's tough. So, the reason why I talk about this is not for my sake, but to let other women know, that who may be in that situation, that you are not alone, that it is not your fault, and that it is okay to speak to somebody, and they're not going to judge you, and they're not going to blame you, and you do not need to settle, and you do not need to stay in a situation that's unsafe, because this person has wore you down so emotionally, so physically, so mentally, that you don't believe in yourself anymore. Like, just, you know, don't take on other people's shit as your own. And that's why I talk about certain things that other people don't talk about, because like, people are afraid to speak up. They're afraid of being judged. They're afraid of being um looked down upon. They're afraid of things that they really shouldn't be, because these are not your mistakes to wear. Like, you didn't do this to yourself. You didn't ask to be in this situation. Even if it's in a relationship, say it's a relationship, and you find yourself in a situation where you can't leave, and you have nobody to talk to, or you're afraid to talk to somebody, or he's put you down so much for the last several years that you don't believe that you're worth saving, or you believe his bullshit. Like, just realize that it's not your fault. If you're the woman in that situation, it's not your fault. It's him. There's something wrong with him. And no matter what he does, do not buy into the bullshit, because like, it could be you that you're getting a knock on your door saying your family members passed away because they stayed in a situation that was not safe for them to be in. And it's important to have these conversations, in my mind, because maybe this is the only way that somebody is able to feel like they're not alone, and feel like that if they did have the courage to come forward, maybe this is the reason. Maybe they need to hear someone else's story, whatever it is that makes it happen for you to get out of there. Do not let yourself stay in a situation that's unsafe because of somebody else, especially if they're psychotic, especially if they're on mind altering drugs, that make their behavior swing from normal to insane within a matter of seconds. There is no switch, there is no rhyme or reason to it. It's just who they are. There's something wrong with them, not with you. So get that clear in your mind right there. But I just wanted to come on. This is not going to be a long show. I just felt bad because I totally forgot that I was even live last night. I was just like, when I heard that, I was like, oh my God. Like, it was shocking. It was not expected. It was like I said, it brings back a lot of things. So I had to just kind of process everything in my mind. But it takes a while for your mind to accept that, like, that threat that you thought was there is now gone. So that's, for me, that's a PTSD thing. And that's a really big fucking deal for me. So like, I felt bad after when I think it was more today when I was thinking about it. I was, or no, because somebody sent me a message and they were like, I went to, I went to go on your show last night and you weren't there. But the panel stayed on, which they're more than welcome to. Like, you know, they just couldn't end it. I had to end it. That was the only difference. But those are my guys. I trust them. They know the limits, right? Like they know how I roll. I felt bad for just dropping everybody last night, but I was really in a kind of state of shock because that wasn't the knock on the door I was expecting. Although I could have used it several months ago. I'm not gonna lie. Excuse me for 1 second. I just need to take a drink here. But it's when you've when you've been through those types of situations and you come out the other side of it. I don't know if you're the type of person, but I am certainly that type of person who's like, okay, this is broken, and now that it's happened to me, I see where the loopholes are, and we need to change that. It shouldn't be so hard for women to get help that are in unsafe situations. And I'm not kidding. Like, I called a freaking shelter every day for 2 months and there was no room. What is a woman supposed to do if the man is trying to kill her and she has no family? She has nowhere to go. Like, you cannot leave somebody in a situation for 2 months and then the cops come and offer no help. Like, why don't you just leave your fucking weapons here and leave and turn your back and not come back? Because I'll take care of it. Because clearly you're afraid of a fucking man too, and you have all the weapons in the world. So why don't you just leave those here? Because you're not qualified to carry them, and your person, your vagina. And I'll just take care of business like a boss because you can't handle it. Like, and that's what we're dealing with. So I'm going to end it here because I am emotionally exhausted. But I just wanted to come on and apologize for leaving everybody hanging because they're probably like, where the fuck did Kim go? That's what happened. And we'll catch up again soon. And I'm very sorry about last night. And we'll have another show in the future when I feel more like myself because right now I just feel kind of tired. You know, best thing to do is just sleep at this point. So thank you guys for joining me. I apologize for last night. Now you know why. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.